Alright, we got a new toy today. Finally came in.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
VTM. And we got black 31-inch axle to axle, which I like a little bit better because 30 to me is a little bit about an inch too short. So 31 I think would be just right. I think it looks good. Got silver strings. 80 pounds. That's why it took a little longer to come in. 31 axle to axle. Let's see what the brace height is. Got a 6-inch brace height. Like right on 6 inches. It's a good looking bow. We're gonna set it up. Stand by. Good looking at it. This is probably self-explanatory to most. Just level it. I like to put this level on the arrow as close to the riser as possible. I don't like there to be any flex. Some of these levels that I've seen are a little heavy and they kind of push the arrow down a little bit. It probably doesn't matter. I just like to keep it as close to the riser as possible. Get the string first. Glance over at the arrow. Perfect. So right there, I'll keep a watch on that knock and make sure it doesn't move at all. Top knock. I strip it with wax. It helps it bind together. The serving helps it bind together. If you don't, it's just going to come loose on you. Check it one more time. Bottom up. That just keeps you from having knock pinch. And if you ever have a D-loop malfunction or tear or whatever, you gotta tie another one on. This keeps your, I guess I'd call it your zero. You're still gonna have the same point of impact. But the main thing is it keeps you from having knock pinch. If you ever see your arrow floating on your rest when you go to full draw, 100% of the time you have knock pinch. Anytime you're working with any of this serving and you're cutting it, if you're cutting it, you need to have a really sharp knife, because if you don't, it'll slip and you gotta replace it. On this, you want some play. You don't want this. You don't want these knock sets to be tight on this knock. You want about a thread of this serving. You want about 1 thread gap. Fluffing this bad boy up. So when you burn it, you got a nice ball. Do not put the flame on this material, because what it'll do, it'll catch on fire. You do not want it to catch on fire. That's not the objective. You want it just to melt it. Because if you do, and it's black, and it's just burnt, it'll be brittle. And you'll smack yourself in the face one day, not unexpectedly, drawing back, because this thing will break. I'm not going to cinch this thing down at all. I'm going to make it to where I can move it pretty easy. I like to use a lot of material so I can grab it. A lot of people like to cut it to the exact length. I don't like doing that. So I get to that point right there, Take a very sharp knife. I'm gonna give it about a 1/4 inch and cut. Again, you just want to melt it. You don't want to burn it. And all I'm gonna do is snug this just enough to get to where it doesn't come untied. Because I want to be able to move when I put my dealer or my Peep side in. I want to be able to move this. Anytime you're switching accessories over or you're going from an old bow to a new bow, take measurements. It makes things 10 times faster and easier. I know from the center of my D-loop to my Peep, I wrote it down right here, it's 6 1/8. I know from the center of my D-loop to my nose button is 3 1/2. So it's going to make it easier. It's going to vary a little bit if you move axle to axles. Like I went from a 30 to a 31 on ATA, so it's going to change a little bit, but that puts you in a very close vicinity to start setting your new stuff up. That silver string looks pretty cool. You might have to monkey with this just a little bit, or I do. Maybe some guys don't, but on which way you need it to go. I like to leave this little string divider that shows you what the true center of your string threads are. I like to leave it in there, at least until I get it set up. Because when I release the tension off this press, it's going to turn that. Maybe I get lucky and everything sets back into place. I think it did. It doesn't always happen like that though. A lot of times when you put the pressure back on the string, your D-loop or your Peep side will just completely switch directions. You gotta redo it. So now I can move my D-loop to match my Peep side. I'm not going to do it permanently yet, but just enough not to fly out while I'm paper tuning. I'm just going to do a double over and under. I'm going to turn it on the bottom. I always like to get excess material, so I've got something to work with. Again, anytime you're burning close to the string, you don't want to catch anything on fire. You just want to melt it. So now that'll keep it from flying out. I'll put all the accessories on the bow before I start tuning it, because when you start adding weights on different spots of the bow, it's going to change your tune. So I like to put everything, I'm going to put everything on there and then we'll start tuning. When I put these on, I take a primer pin most of the time because it's already got adhesive on it. This one doesn't because I just pulled it off. I just barely rub over where I'm going to put it, because if you do it too much, you'll take the paint off. With this specific one, we're rednecking it. So we're putting a little vein adhesive. I'll set it right there. And all I do is just tie square knots. I'll cut right here, burn it, melt it into there so I don't have any slippage. And then just take this, unscrew it, pull it tight, locks that rest down. I'll serve all this in after we get tuned up. This is going to stretch over time. Usually I tie a weight on this and let it stretch overnight, but just for this video I didn't have time to do that, so I'm just going to let it stretch on its own. So I'll have to keep adjusting this over time. There she is. We're going to do a tuning video separate, but she's pretty. We'll start shooting her, get her tuned in. Good job, boy. Bam! First shot. Got her set up. 80 pounds, Hoyt VTM 31. That's smooth 80 pounds. There is no hand shock in that at all. So I shot the Arctic 7 all year this past year. And I love it, bow. It's my favorite. Up until now, it's my favorite bow ever. This is 1 inch longer, so I'm gonna like that. Basically, it's the exact same bow except aluminum and 1 inch longer. Smooth as butter on the draw. It's 80 pounds and it feels like 65. And there is zero, and I mean zero hand shock in this bow. Now I shoot at 100 just for shits and giggles. Hey, hit.